Calvin, is the Prime Minister's trip to Scotland non-essential travel?
Not at all. He's the Prime Minister of this nation. You know, he was wearing full PPE. He was visiting a COVID relief centre. You know, he's looking into the vaccine rollouts across the UK, thanking our NHS professionals and all that. It's great. I think Nicola Sturgeon, or as Jacob Rees-Mogg calls her, Mona Lot, she gets far too much press for her level of importance. You know, devolution to the country level was a mistake. I think you give them an inch and they want to take a mile, especially in her case. It's never enough. Whereas most Scots that I know are unionists, one nation unionists, whereas the SNP themselves are, you know, they're nationalists to the point of the BNP at this point. They're xenophobes. That's what they are. Let's talk about it honestly. She's currently waiting until the polls are in her favour so she can call another referendum, even though it was supposed to be a once-in-a-lifetime referendum to leave or stay in the UK. She's a sore loser. And democracies don't work with sore losers. We need losers' consent. Unless she's going to give it, we're not going to get a true democracy.
Although, if you want to keep the union together, perhaps the Prime Minister should stay in Westminster because he's hated north of the border.
That he is. I mean,
Miata, what do you think? I mean, he's the best advert for an independent Scotland, if you ask most Scots.
He is. I mean, look, I definitely think his trip was non-essential. You know, we are in a lockdown. We're all stuck in our homes. We're all behind doors. And these visits are kind of pointless. And it's not just him going. It's all the fanfare around him. It's the people who will have to travel. It's the people who had to go on site to make all the arrangements. It wasn't necessary. And there's no political upside to it because he is the one thing that repels Scottish people, even people that might be supportive to the union. So it doesn't even give him the political boost that he wants. And it's just not right in the context of a pandemic and national lockdown.
Although democratically elected leaders shouldn't be telling each other what to do, should they? It's not in Nicola Sturgeon's pay grade to stop the UK Prime Minister heading to Scotland.
No, but if he has good sense, he would have come to that decision himself. And I think it's absolutely fine for her to point this out. I mean, on Calvin's point, I should say, when you say devolution was a mistake, you give them an inch, they take a mile. That's exactly the sort of thing that is propelling the cause for independence. Devolution was not a mistake. And I think actually we should be talking about more powers. And our hope of keeping the union together is predicated on a federal settlement where we are devolving powers to different parts of the country. People do not like the centralised model. Therein is the problem. As long as we are all in hock to Westminster that is broken, quite frankly, in a Whitehall that's broken, you're going to get people wanting to pull away.
It's not that broken, is it? The fastest rollout of vaccines in history, a 230 billion quid furlough scheme, extraordinary support for the people of this country. The bottom line is that actually the United Kingdom as a whole has had a much better pandemic than any independent Scotland.
Well, I think when we start going through the track record of the last year, success is not the measure that will be, success is not the story that will come out of it. It has been a catalogue of failures. Yes, we've got the vaccination right, but 100,000 people have died. And, you know, there's blame at every level. But, you know, maybe if you're trying to make the case for Westminster and Whitehall, this pandemic is not the thing that does it for us.
Miata, by the way, just a thought on devolution. I mean, this was an idea, wasn't it, from New Labour. Tony Blair, Prime Minister, elected 3 times, of course, a few wins, a few losses whilst in post at number 10. But the big idea, the brainchild of New Labour, was to devolve powers in order to keep the United Kingdom together. It didn't work, did it? It created the SNP.
I think the SNP would have been there anyway, and I think we didn't devolve enough power. I think part of the problem that we have, and we're seeing the same tensions in Northern Ireland, the same tension as Wales, is that we still have one of the most centralised systems in the world. And when a lot of people don't believe in our democracy, they don't believe it works for them, and they don't believe decisions are made in their interest, that is a problem. So actually the solution is not rolling back power, but trying to hand power over in equip communities with the ability to determine their destinies.
Calvin, I'm a bit worried about that. I think what Miata's recommending there is sort of independence light. And I'm not sure this strategy of throwing a piece of meat every so often to the nationalists is really going to work.
It doesn't work, does it? Because every time we hand over new powers to Scotland, they say it's not enough, or Westminster are holding back and they want more and more. And it's essentially separation through a gradual process. We had a vote. we're a very clear vote. The decision was that Scotland should remain a part of the United Kingdom. Yes, we need to work better together and make sure that all parts of the United Kingdom feel represented at all levels of government. Spot on there. But we don't need to divide powers away from Westminster. We want one United Kingdom, one nation. It works better when we work together in that way. Just look, like you said, the vaccine rollout hasn't been successful in Scotland. Education's been dire in Scotland. The NHS has been dire. The economy in Scotland has been dire all since the Scottish Parliament was set up. So, as you mentioned, it clearly doesn't work. And I don't think it's the right approach. Devolution to the very local level can work. Giving local councils and local parishes more responsibility over their own area can work. But to the country level of one joint nation doesn't make any sense, really.